I think it's awesome when you can overcome things. When you can overcome, fumbling a punt again. Though we maybe should fumble a punt every game, because we fumbled the punt against UCLA in one, we fumbled the punt in this game, and we fumbled the punt, didn't we, in New Mexico State? So we're 3-0 when we turn over the ball on the punt team. So maybe we should put that play in and just do it the first one just to ensure victory. 3 turnovers seems to be our thing too. If we can just keep under 3, we're okay. 2 is, the limit. But yeah, builds character. We missed a field goal. I thought almost I'd like to see that again. I watched it on the replay. I thought it might have been good. I know those things are tough to call, but I thought in the replay it looked kind of good to me. But obviously they have more angles probably than I do. But yeah, we overcame some things. I thought Coach Nowinski made some good adjustments. Playing a little bit more man coverage as the game went on, because I think that quarterback was, finding some holes and zones. But with a lot of young quarterbacks, when you're covering guys in man, and they really have to make like a really nice throw to throw away from man coverage, that can be tricky. And we wanted to force that guy to beat us throwing. And he was solid. I mean, like 23 to 29, but we played well enough to win.
And you talked about a good deal about the bar earlier in the week and all that, and Malton a little bit too. I don't think either of them had sacks tonight. The bar was active in the run game too. What did you kind of see in terms of the job you guys did on those guys?
Yeah, I thought we did a solid job. I mean, there were times where we gave up a little penetration, but those 2 DNs are good players, man. So to hold, LeBarbera was not their leading tackler and did not have a TFL, and he led the country in TFL. So I think it was a solid job. I was proud of, some guys who got to play a little bit more. It was the first start of the year for Nev Brown. It was the first start of the year for Isaiah Silliman. He ended up starting at guard. Jamar played a lot at guard, so I think there were some guys who stepped up and did a nice job.
Going back to the rushing attack, I mean, when you have 42 rushing attempts and Jack Lane is your team's leading rusher, I mean, what do you think that just says about your guys' ability, just like versatility and just winning the rushing battle after struggling the last few weeks?
Well, I was proud of Jack. Jack had some nice scrambles on third down, which was big, to get a few scrambles like that, and then Lobstein came in and had a nice one. I thought Coach Sleisner really did a good job of, using James and getting him involved. He had 4 carries for 26 yards, quarterback draw at the end for a big first down. But then, that was a zone read play, and they just weren't honoring him. Jack doesn't pull those a lot, but they had nobody on him, and he pulls it and runs for 50. So I thought Jack, bounced back and played played really well, played to his role, and, heck of a win.
Only 4 different guys caught a pass tonight. Only one by a receiver. The other guy was, Lobstein caught a pass. I mean, was that a result of what the defense was giving you, or was that kind of just you were just going to be run heavy all night regardless?
Yeah, I did like, I prefer this recipe, for for winning, to run it more than passing. Now, I don't know if it always needs to be 42 to 22, but I think that's kind of our recipe, running it a little bit more than throwing. I think we're always trying to get the ball to Dorian. DJ and Bankston have been good in the passing game. Lobstein did a nice job catching it on the trick play we ran. So, hopefully we can get Sean back going and, execute and get him a little bit more involved next week. But, we did what we had to do to win.
You guys had a pretty aggressive fourth down, particularly early as well. Were a lot of those just like analytics calls, or were kind of gut feeling, or how are you looking at those tonight?
Both. Both of the analytics advising, but also, we wanted to be aggressive. We wanted to stay on the field. I thought their defense was the strength of their team. So when we had makeable stuff in fourth down, wanted to go to try to stay on the field. I had pretty good confidence that we could, stop them. They had a couple nice drives in the second half. In the first half, they really, they had one long field goal drive, but the other drives were, they had a 1-yard scoring drive for the field goal, and then the one before the half was a 22-yard scoring drive. So, and in the second half they did a good job. They had a 15-play, 75-yard scoring drive that was a heck of a drive by them. But I felt pretty confident too that if we did get stopped, our defense could hold them.
The fourth and 6, I think, that the decision to kind of go there, was that analytics call or was that just kind of a gut call?
I mean, they're both. They're both. You're kind of in that weird range where. Do you remember what yard line it was on? It was like 40.
I think it was midfield.
You're at like
pretty sure.
Yeah. 44. You just have so much risk of kicking it in the end zone, and now you net 24 yards on the punt. So that's why usually I like to go for it in that range.
You mentioned kind of the the anomaly of 3-0, kind of a muff punt and all that as well too. But I think that's 3 lost fumbles off like 7 punt returns and all that. How are you guys kind of looking at maybe cleaning that up, and will there be a change?
Maybe we should let it bounce. We got to work it in practice this week. We were talking if they had a punt one more time, what we were going to do, and we were probably either going to just mandatory fair catch, and really the one we fumbled, we should have been a fair catch. People are around you, just protect yourself and fair catch it. But we got to keep looking. DJ, was ready. He was kind of our backup going into it. We got to keep working Keegan as well. But yeah, we got to clean that up, even though we win every time we do it.
And I think it was 13 team I carries for Scott Trey tonight and all that. Was there something in how Nevada played where you guys were kind of looking, we want to get Scott Trey the ball more, or was it just kind of a general?
I think he was kind of the hot hand. He had a nice 23-yard run in the first half that kind of got going. One of the things we did on the first play, because we kind of view those guys all as, we don't really have a huge hierarchy, but last week when we had a delay a game the first play, part of the things that slows us down is Damon is one of the kick returners, so you're waiting for him to get back, into the huddle. So we kind of made the decision, well, heck, let's let Damon return the kick, and then use Scotty the first play, and then Scotty ended up having a 20-yard run that was good to see, and then powered downhill running is his strength, so he did a nice job on that last carry in the 4-minute drill.
I think 3 false starts, like 4 holdings, I want to say, on offense tonight, and in terms of the penalty, kind of cumulative stuff and all that as well. What do you kind of see in that regard in terms of just the penalties tonight? We got
to clean up some technique on things, because it was a shame, because James might have scored on that one play if we didn't have the holding penalty, and that ends up we get no points in that drive. So definitely have to clean up some technique things there, and I'll have to look at the false starts. They ended up getting called for disconcerting signals at the end. They have the left tackle for Nevada played for us in Idaho. Foster. So I think he told the defense our snap count, and that's our hard counts really worked well, because when we do our hard count, we kind of play off that, and we got a lot of stuff off of that early. But I thought there were some times where they were, kind of maybe jumping our stuff too, that maybe led to our guys getting a little antsy on the false starts.
Obviously, a big one next week. I mean, how do you kind of look, like winning's hard and all that? How do you kind of flip the switch from, hey, we got this one, but we still have a lot to clean up and have in the next week?
Yeah, this game became bigger. We still haven't played that full game. I'm hoping to, in all 3 phases. But this is a big game. You got two teams that are 4-3, I believe. Both won this week. Both, contending for a bowl game. Teams that didn't go to a bowl game last year. We haven't been to a bowl game in a long time. Obviously you got the subplot of the coach was here and left, which, for a majority of the team means nothing, because, we have 75 new guys who probably don't even know who the coach was here last year. And, but for the 30 guys who do, it's, probably a bigger game and things. So, no, it's a huge game. It's definitely, you go 5-3, you put yourself in, really good position, to go to a bowl game. Now you're sitting where you got to win 1 out of your last 4 to get bowl eligibility. So this is a huge game next week.
So 3-0 on this year. All 3 games you've had to kind of battle, close it out in the second half. What do you think that says about your team's ability to rise to the occasion at home?
Well, I think we're a tough-minded team. I think we battle and we compete no matter what the situation was. Whether it was we got down 14-0 last week or 10-0 last week at Boise, or we were down 17-7 against New Mexico State. I just think we're a tough-minded team that doesn't quit in battles.
Coach, any comments on your Mike linebacker, 11 tackles, last week 18 tackles, and a few of those he does not make that tackle, there's some long runs.
I thought he played well. I thought he tackled well. He got a little dinged up a little bit. I think at the end of the first half got a little stinger, which he hasn't had many of those. That's why he wears that little neck roll or whatever to try to prevent those. But I thought he did a nice job. And again, we stopped the run, excellent. Giving up 2 yards a carry, and we rushed for 5 yards a carry. That's a good recipe for winning football.
Coach, in the first half, when you guys were driving down, I think the fans got a little too excited and they started kind of cheering or making a lot of noise when you guys were in the red zone. Any thoughts on that?
I really didn't notice it.
Oh, okay.
16 play, 75-yard drive to start.
Awesome.
You guys, did you guys end up tweaking the pregame routine?
We did.
Like,
We just did like a they did a walkthrough in the morning instead of the afternoon, did a little highlight video and things. So just kind of changed some stuff up. But I loved the way the offense came out. I mean, that was it was like a death march. It took forever. It was like 7.5 minutes. And
17 plays. It was the longest in terms of plays this year.
yeah, and there was a bunch of like penalties that are no plays, but like a lot of those penalties we played because it was like they were in the neutral zone. So I think there was probably 20 plays that we played on that drive. Officially, it was 16, but that was a heck of a series. Some of our guys were gassed on that.
What was the highlight video?
Just some highlights of us just trying to get the guys more hyped up, ready to go, and particularly offense because, like I said, I thought against Boise, our defense didn't necessarily start slow. And it's a shame because you want a 75-play drive, then you go 3 and out, and then we fumble the punt. So you have all the momentum, and then you lose it. And then, we got to do a better job coaching too. And really, I'm mad at myself because, we got to understand the situation. At that point, they were out of timeouts before the half. We had a timeout. We just got to remind the guys, hey, we're trying to just get out of the half now. We're running the ball. We're going to punt after this play. Just ball security is all that matters, and we tried to cut it back. So that's poor coaching by me. I got to do a better job with that because we kind of gifted them, 6 points right before the half.
As Frank would say, I believe this was Mercury's most fertile game in terms of overall production and all that. You obviously got to start tonight. What kind of led to that and getting some water?
Just playing the best. I thought he played pretty well against Boise last week, and he gives us a little bit. He's a little bigger than Murph. Probably 15 pounds heavier, so just gives us a little bit more stoutness in there. Murph was still playing in the passing situations, but it became more of a run-pass thing, and hopefully we get Dimitri back next week.
You did mention on Tuesday, probably mixing a couple more stacks and bunches and all that kind of helped with some separation stuff. How did you think that kind of played out tonight in terms of getting the desired result?
I don't know if we got to. There was one play I really liked that I don't even think we got to. So,
Don't tell anyone.
yeah, I got to look at that a little bit more with what we got to there. They gave us a fair helping of man, but they put a lot of cover 3 as well. So.
And just kind of wrap it up after this, just because it's Snoopy on my thing is falling asleep on his deal. So.
Coach Keyshawn James Newby, by his standards, had a relatively quiet night. I think that opened the door for Brett Carton and Mercury Swain to kind of do their thing.
Well, I credit. Brett had a nice sack and 2 TFLs, but I credit their O-line. I thought their O-line played pretty good. I thought. I thought maybe we'd be able to get more TFLs. I don't know if we'd be able to get 11 like we had against Boise, but I was hoping we could get maybe a few more than 5 and a few more sacks. But I thought their tackles played pretty well and they protected good.
Coach, announced attendance tonight, 18,233. Your thoughts, and did they impact the game?
You get what you deserve when you play shitty on the road 2 weeks and lose. You know what I'm saying? If we would have won those games, we would have been a lot better. It was better than the first game. What we had, 17,000 for the first game, and this game's probably late where maybe some people didn't want to bring their kids because the game started at 8 o'clock and stuff. So, I'll say this: I want better next week. Again, we were 3-0 at home. That's a heck of a deal. So I'd like to have a much better crowd next week.
Blinded out games moving forward, knowing that your team's tough minded, maybe have a little bit of an edge that way.
Well, I just think conference games usually the margin is pretty close. I mean, you look at however you want to look at it. I guess San Jose ended up being a 1-possession game, even though going into the fourth quarter it necessarily wasn't. Boise was a 1-possession game going into the fourth quarter, and they pulled away to win by 16. But usually the margin isn't very big in these conference games, so it's a few key plays decided.
All right, let's switch it up.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, Jason.